Damn, Ingenious made the beat. Yo, welcome to another episode of the Coach Life Podcast Radio. I am, of course, your host, the casual one, Coach Steve. Join with me, as always, the incomparable, the professor, Coach Ryan. How we doing, brother?
Doing good, sir. How you feeling today?
Oh, you know, it's a positive day. It's always a positive day. We get a chance to chop it up. It's always a great time.
Oh, yeah.
And we got another fun one today, right?
Absolutely.
We can't forget the CEO of Coach Life Podcast Radio and the Coach Life brand, the brand about building your brands. Coach Wash, Coach Lloyd, how are we doing, sir?
Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, it's purpose. What's up?
What's up, brother? How we doing?
We doing great. We doing
Awesome.
great. I'm excited for this one again.
You should be. Because
and you know why?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely know why. Because we had an amazing pod, our previous pod, where we had a highlighted Coach's Corner with Coach Tomas Luna, who killed it on the pod last time. And guess what, fans? We brought him back again.
Guess who's back?
We brought him back again.
Welcome back, like Mace.
Welcome to the Coach Life Podcast Radio, sir. Coach Luna, how are we doing, brother?
Man, I'm blessed, man. Again, I'm glad to be here, man. Glad to have this conversation. We're about to get started.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the cool part is, again, just like all of our other pods, we've done a Coach's Corner. We did something special, obviously, for our last pod where Coach Luna was our Coach's Corner. But we're going to throw the baton over to Coach Luna right now and have him give us our Coach's Corner for today's podcast, which before we have you do that, Ryan, could you please let everybody know out there what our pod is today?
Pod is small wins, small victories.
Building
on it.
Small wins. The little ones, right?
The
little ones.
Every win is a win,
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So Coach Luna, take us to our Coach's Corner, sir, and let's get some insight on our pod.
All right. The quote I got for us is be where your feet are. And the significance of that is everybody has that main goal that we all trying to get to. You can't see the progress that you're making if you're always looking above the trees. You get what I'm saying? You can't see how far you're making it if you're focusing so far ahead. Be where your feet are. Take care of everything that you got going on today. Take care of every little thing that you got going, like a little checklist of, all right, boom, that's done. That's done. That's done. And before you know it, at the bottom of the page, that main goal is about to be attainable. You can't look at it at the first check because you still have a whole lot of other things you got to do. Step 1, step 2. It doesn't matter how many steps you got to take. Just know that as long as you stay on that checklist, you'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
100%. I love that quote for so many reasons. One, obviously, from a coaching aspect, it definitely helps those players that kind of have a tendency to think too much, right? They're overthinking. These are to get those guys to kind of stop and slow down and just kind of be in the moment for a second. Be in the moment. It helps them make quicker, faster decisions, right? The other reason why I love this quote is encompassed around our topic today of building on small wins. That gives a lot of personal growth and builds a lot of confidence, which is crazy because we just had a pod talking about what? Building confidence.
Yeah.
So let's pivot really quick and kind of talk about what this pod is going to encompass. We're going to talk about, again, what does building on the small wins mean? To kind of give us a little bit more of a design around that concept, right? Talk about how we build on those small wins. what we can do to help break down that process and kind of make those actionable steps. Kind of like what Coach Luna said, would be where your feet are, right? Again, checking off those small boxes until we get to our big goal. And then we're going to talk about why small wins can be huge for your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
How we can really play up your confidence level. Again, it's funny because we talk about this all the time in all of our pods. Everything we talk about, it's one big circle.
It's a circle, baby. It's a circle.
One big circle. So let's kick it off first and foremost. Building on the small wins. Mm-hmm. What does building on the small wins mean, Coach Ryan?
Building on a small win means that you're stacking those little victories. You're doing the little things, the details that's going to get you, like you said, to the main goal. So no, I'm not going out there and accomplishing the whole 100%, but I'm moving forward in a positive direction. So I feel like that's a small actionable win.
Those small wins, Coach Luna, take us to the football field.
Man, our defensive coordinator that I worked for my second year as a GA at Texas State, he had this one thing that stuck with me from the very first time he spoke. He said, get 1% better every single day. Mm-hmm. He said, get better at one thing every single day. Mm-hmm. He said, by the end of the year, you'll be 365 times better than you were before you started. And that always stuck with me because it literally ties in exactly what we said, those small victories. Every single day there is a victory. The moment you open your eyes, the minute your eyes open, that was a victory. Mm-hmm. The minute you were able to walk on your feet, that was a victory. Everything that we do that we just take for granted from a physical aspect, those are victories. Those are blessings. Yeah. Not everybody has that opportunity.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Coach, it's funny because we kind of talking about, not taking for granted those very small things that a lot of us get a chance to do on a regular basis. There was a point in time where you weren't able to do a lot of the things that we're talking about, getting up, walking around, running around, yet alone playing football. How important is building on the small wins for you?
Man, that goes back to me. Remember, I was 11 when this accident happened, but leg literally hanging on by skin. I'm telling you, to the point where, will I be able to keep it? That was mentally a battle. So I had to build on the small wins mentally to get past, will I be able to walk again? Will I be able to keep my leg? It's day by day, each day, getting news, hey, we got good blood flow. That's a small victory. We're seeing progress in the healing, weeks later. That's a small victory. I'm not thinking about, at one point, obviously I'm young. I'm thinking about, man, initially, I ain't gonna be able to hoop again. I ain't gonna be able to play football, but you get away from that real quick when it's like your leg is on the line,
Right.
So now it's like, am I going to keep this? I'm going to keep it now. Am I going to be able to stand again? Then you get to physical therapy. We got pins in there. You can put a little bit of pressure on it. All right. That's a victory. We're moving forward. So that means everything to me. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of belief. It takes a lot of faith. Mm-hmm. It takes more faith than anything. I think my brother once he remembers everything I went through. He always referenced things I say to this day. He'd be like, man, I remember you told me you knew. And honestly, I did just know. I had a point where there's a difference between believing and knowing. You know what I'm saying? I've seen somebody talk about this before. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody that's truly spiritually say spiritual, they'll say, I know there's a God. Somebody religious may say, I believe there's a God. There's a difference between the two. Mm-hmm. And we're not getting preachy in here. I'm just giving an example. All right. But
you take them to church, bro. Take them to church.
But you know what I'm saying? I knew you couldn't tell me no different. It was in me and I moved that way. You know what I'm saying? I operated that way at a very young age. And even to the point where I got to the last victory, which was almost like a year later down the road from that accident, and going through all the rehab and 9 surgeries, pins, a half body cast. I re-broke the leg. They had took pins out early. I re-broke my femur during that. I'm talking about setbacks. I knew that whole time. You couldn't tell me no different. And the minute I was able to stand, I put my foot on the ground with no aid of any sort, no boots. After all that time and all that blood rush to my foot, and I was like, man, this feel foreign. But I was like, we here though.
Right. Some place where we said that we probably weren't going to be.
Weren't going to be. And then from there, the doctor said, you probably going to have a limp the rest of your life.
That's just a pimp lip.
Yeah. You couldn't tell me that. He said that. And I was like, all right. I remember to this day vividly. He was like, try to take a jog down the hall in the doctor's office. So this is all just off of memory, right? You know, I haven't even walked without any type of aid at this point.
Right.
So I just do what I know to do. I just tell my body to do it. And, you know, it looked like a gallop. It looked like shit. I look like Forrest Gump. And but I'm like, I just knew, I'm like, that ain't it. This ain't it. I had physical therapy for a little bit longer. That ran out as far as insurance go. I got to the ground myself, 12 years old, weights in my room. I couldn't bend my knee all the way because of scar tissue and it being straight for so long. I remember putting myself on my on a bike. I literally strapped my foot to the pedal and I took my other leg and like aggressively pushed it to the ground to make it rotate, to make the pedals rotate. Crack, crack, crack. And all that scar tissue broke up. At this point, I'm like, I ain't got nothing to lose. So I'm not worried about doing damage to myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm already being told that I'm not going to be an athlete. I'm just going to be a limping man. Crack, crack, crack. Knee super weak. You know, couple of days go by. I'm still trying to work out. I started strengthening it. And eventually got to a point, had full range of motion. I kept going. And I knew you couldn't tell me no different.
You know, I think that's important. For first and foremost, you celebrated each one of those wins that you had.
Absolutely.
Those small wins that you had, you celebrated each one of those and kind of gave yourself a reward, right? That small pat on the back, like, I know that I can, I know that I will, right?
Yes, sir.
And then the coolest part about this is you also acknowledge your progress, right? You acknowledge the fact that you got to keep a positive mindset given the situation, right?
That's key.
And then on top of that, you know what your motivation is, right? I'm being told no. Your motivation was I'm being told no. And that's not commonplace for me. I've been doing this for 11 years. You can't tell me that I can't do this anymore, right? Like, I just started doing this. I'm about to continue, right? So I think it's super important. And I kind of want to make a transition over to reflecting on the lesson. So in that whole situation, you had to obviously reflect on the lessons, like what worked, what didn't work. And not even just in that situation, just like in any one situation, I think it's super important and key for a lot of people to reflect on the lessons that they've been given. Those lessons in the loss, right? We talk about that all the time. And not even just the losses, but just everything. Just reflect on the wins, reflect on the losses, reflect on, all those situations so that you can start understanding the gravity of what you have in front of you.
Yeah.
It almost makes the lesson lost if you don't reflect on it. You know, if you come all that way and you do all that work and then you don't take the time to recap, to reflect, it almost loses its value.
I think you nail on the head, bro. It's lost its value at that point. Like, you just went through all of that for no reason. And it's one thing that I used to hear this all the time from one of our coaches, that I'm pretty sure Coach Wash, Coach Lloyd, Coach Harris.
Oh man.
Shares will say this all the time. Like when we would be back there doing kickoff return and punt return, I remember this vividly, just being back there, and you know, he was my coach in high school, so he was my coach in college, so I was blessed to have a coach that already kind of knew what I was good at and could put me in positions to win. Right, one of the best coaches I've ever been able to be under and work beside, but he put us back there. I remember this. Me and Lloyd were back there, kickoff return, and I called one of the I received the kickoff. I'm running down, and I got a tendency where, yeah, you said we gonna do wedge right. That sounds good.
Yeah,
I'm going wedge left.
Willie Beeman of returns back here. Willie Beeman back here.
But you can't tell me I didn't put some yards on kickoff and punt return, bro.
So like you still did, but ain't no telling what it would have been. But
you're right. I probably could have followed some of the blockers. I probably could have followed some of them, but I made a lot of people miss. But again, one of the things that that Coach Harris used to tell me all the time, like when make the catch, and I remember muffing one of them in practice, and he was like, I muffed it, and I kind of just like stood there for a second, like, damn, dropped it. And one of our team captains on one of our DBs came up and whacked the ever-loving shit out of me. Ooh. And I got up, wanted to fight. Coach Harris is standing there. I looked over at him. He was like, that's your fault. He was like, that's your fault. He was like, you can come all this way, catch the ball, you muffed the ball. It's like, you got on pass. I was like, again, he's like, follow through. He's like, no, you didn't hear a whistle. You didn't hear anything. Keep going. Just keep going. You made a mistake and you stopped because you made a mistake. And too often we do that too many times. That entire time while I was looking at that ball come down at me, I'm thinking of the bigger goal, getting to the end zone. I'm not doing what Coach Luna said at the beginning of this pod, be where my feet are. Be in the moment. Take the second, make the catch, again, secure the ball, and then go.
I think you can overwhelm yourself if you don't focus on small things. Because in especially like as you get older, you have so many goals as far as different avenues in your personal life, whether it's with your marriage, whether it's with friendships, whether it's with financial, whether it's just overall security, health, everything. Like it's so many different avenues. And, you know, if you just solely just think of the end goal, one of those things are going to fall off to the wayside. But if you just go ahead and say, like, for example, I'm going to call somebody I ain't talked to in a long time. And like Lloyd said, where's your mentor? You know, something like that, just to continuously be there. Like I'm still here. Like, of course, I have whatever I'm trying to accomplish in my whole personal life, but, you know, I'm still here. And then health-wise, making sure I went ahead and did something for my health. Make sure I get my exercise in. You know what I'm saying? Financials, making sure that I'm taking care of my bills, doing other things. Wife, making sure we're going ahead and make sure we got a date planned out soon. So that way, you know, it's just that constant little, because you know exactly, it's like the base of the pyramid. Every single one, eventually, there's a top. But right now, we still building from the base.
And I think if people have a procrastinating mindset or a stalling mindset, they'll try to compound it and do too much at once because they wasted time or they're not doing a little by little. So, yeah, man, I definitely get that.
Where, Coach Ryan, break that down a little bit more, because we can go into a little bit more depth with this, because when we talk about goals, right? Everybody has a goal. Everybody has something that they want to accomplish. Why is it that it is sometimes difficult for people to break those small goals, this goal down into smaller pieces, smaller bite-sized pieces? Like kind of like what Coach Luna said, when we got this pyramid, right? Each one of these bricks is going to lead us to the mountaintop. Why is it so hard for us to focus on the small brick?
Sometimes it's the perfectionist mindset where it's like, if I can't get it all in one go, or if I can't do 100% right now, I don't want to do anything. You know, so it's like, man, I gotta go big, go home. Don't rest till I'm dead type. Those type of mentalities where it's like, you know, it's got to be all or nothing right now. And again, that sets us back because it doesn't allow us to break it down into detail. It doesn't allow us to work and then reset, or work and recap, or reflect if we're always on the go. And then if we ever fall behind, instead of setting the pace and getting back on track, we try to double speed or triple speed to catch up. And it's like, hey, just pace yourself. Just, okay, you muff this one. All right, I'm gonna make sure I catch the next one and not already try to run 2 touchdowns or one. You know what I'm saying? So it's just pacing yourself throughout.
It's a marathon, not the 4x1.
Man.
Yeah.
Big
How you gonna run a
difference.
marathon at a 30-mile-per-hour speed, a whole marathon? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you're gonna wear yourself out, you're gonna hurt yourself and somebody else. You know,
It's overwhelming.
mm-hmm.
To prevent that overwhelming feeling that a lot of people have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think also is super key to track progress.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Lloyd, how do you look at tracking progress when you're mentoring one of either one of the players that you have, one of the kids that you are, you know, teaching in school? How do you track progress to ensure that they are seeing those small wins as they get to their bigger goal?
Man, I literally track it. I'm showing them exactly what they're doing, because we don't always see it, right? Sometimes you need somebody from the outside to show you, like, yo, this is where you at. You've done what we've been telling you to do. And this is all about you actually doing the work too. So, and that's another key. When somebody's not doing the work, I'm saying, hey, this is where you were at. You follow the steps. 2 weeks from then, this is where you were at. Progress. All right. You didn't jump, whether it's in the classroom and you were at a D and now you at a C. You're not going to get to an A right away.
Right.
But you at a C. You stopped because you were looking for an A right away. And now you're back at a D. You barely surviving, or F, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Classroom example. If I go to track, when I was coaching track, I keep track of your times. I keep track of your jumps, everything down to your steps. You know, my specialty was jumps. You know, sprints are important, but I was primarily a jump coach. That was my specialty. I can break down every little detail of what you do in your phases as a jumper. And I'll be like, okay, this is where you were at when we tried this and we did this. This worked for you. We saw some progress here. You reverted back to your bad habits. This is where you're at now. All of those things I can bring back to you and show you where consistency did you justice. And I can show you where your impatience did not do you justice. And that's the key. Like you said, we talking about it now. Everybody wants everything right now. The microwave never beats the oven, though. It don't. 375, baby. That's gonna get you a good meal before the microwave will. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for that roast before you throw you know, a microwave dinner in the microwave. Ain't nothing better than time, patience, and putting in the work.
Man, sound like a good meal right there.
Yeah.
I think all of that comes into play with, from the mentor to mentoree, or the coach to player, or the manager to you know, to coworker. I think that all has to center around what you said was consistency, but also having a growth mindset. Because as people are going through issues or going through situations, one of the things that you find is that they have to emphasize, we as mentors, as coaches, as leaders, we need to start emphasizing more the learning and the improvement that they've had, right? Viewing setbacks and challenges that they've had as opportunities for growth, where they may not see that as an opportunity to grow at all. They see that as, I messed up. right? Just like I told you, like when I muffed that catch, right? Again, I saw it as a failure. Like I failed. This is the one thing that I'm really good at, and I screwed this up. As opposed to looking at this, all right, well, where did I mess up, right? Where was I looking, right? Was my eyes on the ball or was my eyes downfield, right? Like where was the mistakes that I made that contributed to the failure, right? And also in that whole growth mindset is not being afraid to say the word and experience the word failure. Coach Luna, why is the word failure so negative? Why is it
Fail.
so negative?
Fail.
100%. The root word fail is, in a lot of people's mind, is concrete. Fail means I can't, in their mind, means that it's set in stone. There's nothing that we can do about it. When really failure just means you got another opportunity to get better. Failure doesn't necessarily mean it's all said and done. That's why I kind of hate, I mean, this is going to go off topic, like standardized testing and all that other stuff. Like,
Oh man.
because it teaches bad habits as far as how to deal with failure.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Because not everything is equated to a certain number or a certain letter. And that's not the essence of teaching and growing. With a growing mindset, those two things don't coincide with that. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
TEA might go ahead and hit me over the head over this podcast, but it is what it is. But the whole concept of just learning and teaching and growing, and the coaching aspect to me is probably the most realistic part of everything, to where it's everything. It's all encompassing with the idea of that growth mindset, because a good coach is going to always give you that reflection, like Coach Ryan was talking about. And because as a kid, you don't necessarily think about reflection. You literally don't have the mental capacity to do that, and not a lot of kids. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of kids that haven't been tested. So having that ability and going through those things and having somebody that has that type of experience, I mean, failure is probably, to me, one of the best things people can go through. Because I mean, dealing with the kids that I've dealt with in the past, I always would rather go with the kids that had more stuff that they're battling with, as far as, and I don't want to say it like in a bad way, but I'm saying like kids that have some type of hunger. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to get out of something.
Mhm.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like those type of kids and those types of people are the people that I've always gravitated towards, because that's how I was.
They got
You know
something
what
to
I'm saying?
prove.
My parents were immigrants. You know what I'm saying? I was firstborn in damn near a generation in my family. So seeing everything I hear, like shit, I was learning everything as was. And luckily, I grew up around a lot of solid little individuals that taught me certain things and showed me how to move, and like put me in situations to make me have to learn what it meant to work hard. And then I'm a very literal person. So once you show me, and then that's my definition, I don't know how to do nothing else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's powerful. Powerful.
Kind of along the lines of that growth mindset, have you experienced, or just for any of the coaches, like experiencing a player, athlete, somebody that you're leading who their talent isn't increasing, but their mind is growing, or their mental capacity is increasing? How do you navigate that to where, hey, I'm tracking your measurables, they're not the best, but man, I can see you got a good mindset. You're increasing your positive thinking or perspective, or
Hey,
yes.
I'm gonna say that is the easiest situation to deal with.
Man.
It starts with the mental. We can do anything else from there. I mean, with the example I just gave you with myself, it started with the mental. What I say about knowing, that's going to drive you to keep going. Eventually, you'll start to see everything translate everywhere else. Now, obviously, everybody has different ceilings, and that progress may not, show physically, like somebody that's just more gifted and talented. But you will start, it'll be a little bit slower, but you'll start to see something. But I think if you got them mentally, that's the hardest part to actually get with coaching anybody. I don't care if you're dealing with a kid, an adult, and hell, even today, I would say it's tougher with adults because you're more set in your ways than a child is. You got a lot more wiggle room with a young mind than you do with a more seasoned mind. And a lot of it's just being self-aware and checking yourself. But if you got them mentally, the sky's the limit. That's where it's at.
So I'm gonna take this to two places. I'll take this from a football field and then to the office. I coached a player in high school where, let's just call a spade a spade. He was just not going to be a good football player on field. But when I tell you this kid knew football, I've never been around a kid that understood the game to that degree. Like I work again. I've been around a number of coaches. I've been blessed to be around a number of good coaches, and the kids' mindset for football was just on another level, a totally another level. We would sit and film, and I would hear him in the back just make a comment like, outside linebacker lined up in the box again. They finna go the opposite side. Like he would make little comments like that. And it's just like, you just look back there and be like, and then you look at the screen and that's exactly what happens. So having those conversations with him, and there's one thing that he would say all the time, is like he wanted to get more time on the field. And one of the things that we would tell him, like, all right, you know what's going to happen. Just be in position. And I think that's the best thing that you can do, is just to get them in position. You got to make the play, kid. I'm just going to put you in position. You already know where this is going. Just go get in position now. And just gradually, every once in a while, he get in the way, and then we'd have we have a linebacker coming straight. Up, bro.
Speed bump.
Right. But you know what? It worked. It just worked for him. We would send him on blitzes, and he would just go back there and just be disruptive. And a lot of times, and again, a lot of us as former football players and former football coaches, we know probably the best thing you can do a lot of times, if you can't make a play, be disruptive. Be disruptive some kind of way. And that's what that kid did on a regular basis. He just had a general knack. And now he coaches football. Just full circle for the kid. And then
little Rudy.
Yeah, right. Rudy's not his name, by the way.
It just reminded me of Rudy's story. I'm like,
absolutely.
Did you just steal this from a movie?
I did not. I promise this is a real kid. And if I got his permission beforehand, I would have said his name. But maybe he'll comment if you're listening. But anyway, please like and subscribe, by the way. From an office standpoint, I had a dispatcher that I worked with, where they just really couldn't grasp the industry, but they could route like nobody's business. Like, they knew streets. This call came in, they would say, oh, that's on so-and-so street. All you gotta do is go here, 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 and here. Like, he would know every detail of every single route that's out there right now, but just couldn't grasp the concept of our industry, the refrigeration industry, the HVAC industry. Just couldn't grasp calls. So one of the things that we did was I just had him kind of work with another dispatcher on just creating schedules. So he just became our scheduler. That's pretty much all he did, was just schedule jobs, just how to make it the most effective and efficient in routing. And he did that for not only our technicians, but he also did that for our warehouse. So getting shipments from point A to point B, which, Ryan, I know you're very familiar with being in that warehouse, but just routing from that standpoint, he's just really, really good at that piece. And I think, again, it goes back to kind of something that, again, Coach Lloyd said, I mean, all of us said, actually, is putting our guys and our players, our teams in positions to win.
That's right.
So that they can see those small wins, right?
To me, that's probably the biggest thing in coaching, biggest thing in life, period, is if you're in a position of power, like, don't let your pride get in the way. Like, understand what somebody may be good at and let that person flourish in that field, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people are going to be better at talking with other people. So let that person be in that position, especially when it comes to like being able to, you know this very well, Coach Watts, especially when it comes to talking to college coaches. Don't just have some random person go talk to these coaches that really don't know.
Man.
You know, this,
Oh man.
this story, I won't go into the story because it's probably for another day, but it's moments like that where I understand, you know, you may be, of course, it's your program, you do what you want, you put people in positions, but don't just do it just cause. There should be a rhyme or reason for everything. And the number one thing when it comes to, especially when it comes to the recruit, I may be going a little bit off top, but when it comes to the recruiting aspect, like, yes, you don't want to lie to the coaches, fine. But my goodness, don't make it seem like we have nothing. Like, you're playing with some kids' futures, and these kids literally don't have anything.
Right.
I mean, it broke my heart when I seen how some of those kids lived over there at when me and Lord worked together when we had to go do PAPFs. It literally broke my heart. I was like, I never knew there was a side of Cyprus like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I always had this image of Cyprus, and that didn't fit the bill. And when I seen how that was, I'm just like, man, there was too many moments in certain aspects to where I don't think we highlighted good enough what certain kids were good at. Right. And continuously put them in those positions. Even though we would have those side conversations, you know, coaches always have side conversations, things like that. But, you know, just always, like we said, reflection and doing all those things. When you look back, I mean, one of the teams that we had was uber talented. And it was just disappointing, like just things that we went through and some of the, you know, personnel changes. Again, you know, that's water under the bridge, but to me, that's the aspect of coaching that can sometimes fall to the wayside, is putting people in the positions that they can be comfortable. Because if you hire the people, then that means that you have confidence that this person has the ability to do the overall job. Right. So within that, there's subcategories, especially when it comes to a coaching staff. You got guys that can be good with recruiting. You got guys that can be good with speed training. You got guys that's good in the weight room. You got guys that's good at certain things. Put them in those areas. I'm not a big fan of we're going to put you in this area because you don't know. What?
What are we doing?
Right. You get what I'm saying? Like, why?
Really, what are we doing?
Because we're trying to make you grow. You're going to put Michael Johnson, and Michael Johnson joins your staff, you're going to put him out there in the weight room, or you're going to have his ass over there in the track and getting everybody ready for the speed train.
Like, he's gonna lift, bro. We're gonna make him lift.
But that's something that you could do
off season. Do that later.
That's not something that we need to go ahead and be all in on, because that's taken away from my overall ability of what I'm good at. Yeah. And if I'm good at it, let me pour into these kids so that they can go ahead and reap the benefits.
You said that they bring that person in because they, you know, know what they are capable of, or what they could do. I'm hoping that sometimes it's not done as a way of diminishing somebody's talents. Because sometimes you could see, if you're not securing your leadership ability, or, you know, your role as the coach or the leader, you'll be intimidated by other people's strengths. And you feel like that takes away from your leadership and your ability. So sometimes that person might be intimidating. They're like, look, we're going to try to knock that shine down a little bit.
Let me, you going to get me to rambling.
Back.
Hey, yo,
my wife,
hey, man, let me tell you about ego tripping. In the I can't say with confidence versus other coaching staff. I just know football has a very large coaching staff versus other sports. I feel like football coaches have probably the highest percentage of ego trippers, by far. Like, when I talk about solid people, like, I remember being around like Coach Luna, well-versed, you know what I'm saying, definitely a good brain in the game. And you can chop it up with him. You could tell he wasn't ego driven. You know what I'm saying? If he's more well versed in something, you can have a conversation with him, and he'll give you game without, without
Doing
looking
it
at
in
you
your
crazy.
face. Throwing it in your
Exactly.
face.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
You didn't know.
Yeah, or taking advantage of the situation to try to put himself in a higher situation. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, everything's politics. You get a lot of head coaches, they get these jobs because they got a good mouthpiece. And they're the worst for the job because they're doing exactly what you just said, Ryan. They're not gonna hire necessarily the best people for I done been on, I'm not gonna drop no names, but I done seen it too many times where I'm like, you interview who and you did not hire because of what? And you look at the background and then it just adds up and it's like, well, his background is better than yours, if we being honest. You don't want that person on your staff. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel like you can control them. Or
you said a key word right there, bro. And that's something that's super detrimental. And I want to make sure we highlight this. Control.
Man.
Why do you feel the need to control said individual?
Man, that's a personal problem.
Ain't it?
That's internal. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't coach life, by the way. Me and the CEO and what we stand for. That ain't what this about. You know what I'm saying? We all about building each other. And so
about building brands, bro.
And to be honest with you, I think it was a struggle for me to exit the football coaching world because I love the game. I love being around the kids. I love the one-on-one time. And I knew who I was as a coach. I knew what I brought to the table. Like, I'm a one-on-one guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm a skill guy. I would say I wasn't the best chess player when it came to, I wasn't there to do that. That's not what I was trying to do. I wasn't there to play chess. I was there for my position group. I think I told Luna once before, like, and a couple other coaches, like, we would talk about like our goals. Like, I didn't have aspirations to be a coordinator. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted my group. I wanted my one-on-one time with my kids. I wanted to make them dogs and demons in what they did. And that was my focus. And I felt like I had more, I was more beneficial and more of a mentor to kids in that position, with that in the position and in life. And we would have real conversations and we would translate what we were doing in the game to real life. And I knew that role. I was comfortable with it. Like Luna said, and what we all been saying, putting people in positions to win, like, recognize what your coaches want to do and what they built for and what they best at. And if somebody, and really, if I'm a head coach, hell, if half my staff is smarter than me, that make me smart. Why the hell would I not bring on the best people to get the job done and benefit the kids? It makes zero sense to me. Like, get over yourself and whatever your career goals are, and trust that you're gonna still be able to move up. But coaching is really not about you as a leader.
It's never about you.
It has nothing to do with you. You do not matter. You need to understand that. You don't matter. I don't care about your career down the road, dog. I know what you might want to do. Hopefully you can still do it. But if your goal was not to help develop something for the future outside of yourself, you're in the wrong field. Get out the way.
100%, bro.
Get out the way.
You hit the nail on the head. If you're not in a coaching, if you're in a coaching role and you're in it because you're trying to further yourself as opposed to furthering the people that you are gifted, and I say gifted because this is a gift that you are able to pour into these young people and give them knowledge and tutelage that they probably wouldn't have gotten anyplace else, right? So it's super key to understand that coaching is not about you at all.
Can I chime in about this C word, man?
Please
I'm gonna
do.
get philosophical with it. I think the reason why like that problem with control is, like, coach, is confidence, self-confidence. It's a lack of. When you feel that need to control everything and have to micromanage everything, is lack of self-confidence and just awareness, really. You get what I'm saying? Because if you're like that as a, as a CEO, or you like that as a position coach of just micromanaging everything, the morale just slowly just dies. And what leaves is the respect. And once you lose that, we all know
it's over. It's over at that point.
That's it.
That once you lose it, it is gone.
Yep.
Yeah. I've experienced that. I'll say even in a corporate setting working under Buford. There was one person that was more micromanager, and it was just like, here he come again. And then on them days when we knew Steve was running the show, it was like, oh man, it gave you like energy just to know that he was like, hey, run your route and then let me know when you're done. Stuff like that. So again, it does bring a different morale to the environment, just having that type of leader that's like, hey, I trust in what you have until you show me otherwise.
Yep.
Simple as that, man. I just had this conversation with my team a little while ago, with my dispatch supervisors. I've got 5 dispatch supervisors in the company right now, which, by the way, I was told that this wasn't going to be a position. I was told no. So I checked the little boxes until I got to my big win.
That's right. That's right.
5 times.
5 times. But I just had this conversation with my team, and when I look at my team, every single one of them fits perfectly. They fit perfectly. None of them are alike. They are all different. One's very analytical. One is very, very hard-nosed. One is very, very very, very personable, can get anybody to buy in anything. Like literally every single person plays a role. And I find it so enjoyable to watch them flourish in the areas that they want to flourish in. Like I have conversations and one-on-ones with my team and ask them where they want to go, what they want to do, how they want to grow, and try to provide that avenue for them any way that I possibly can. Obviously within company reason, right? But I try to give them that opportunity any way that I can. And you're 100% right, Coach Ryan, when you said it gives you that boost of energy. I see them go above and beyond what I'm asking for. When I'm asking for this level, they give me 10 times more than what I'm asking for. And I don't have to ask. A lot of times it's just done because of the respect factor. Like Coach Luna said, the respect factor is there. If that was not there, that foundation wasn't there, and if I didn't have the self-confidence in myself I can progress myself. I don't need to hold anybody down so that way I can continue to progress myself. If you're better, we're better. Simple as that.
That's right. Get the whole team on a growth level. That's what it's about. Collectively, everybody in leadership and everybody below leadership, till they become leaders. And that's what we're supposed to be doing at the end of the day. When you talk about small wins, another thing comes to mind with what you're talking about right now, which is very important to me, and I'm guilty of it myself, which it took me time to realize I was actually doing it. It actually took a therapist to make me realize I was doing it. Don't punish yourself.
Ain't that the truth? Say it again for the people in the back.
Don't punish yourself. Forgive yourself. It is okay to fall. It is okay to fail. Embrace it. And even when I thought I was good at embracing failure, there were things that I couldn't let go of. And I was subconsciously punishing myself. Like, dang, I had a weak moment. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow,
What did that do for your confidence?
For me, realization spiked it. It spiked it. My biggest thing, I think, for most people, aside from not punishing yourself, learning to deal with yourself and not project onto other people. I feel like that's something I've been great at, though. I don't project onto other people. I try to be conscious of not projecting on the other people. And I try to catch myself in it, and I try to apologize for it too. Self-awareness, that's gonna further help you with your small wins, but don't project how you feel onto other people or what you're dealing with onto other people, because you can't deal with the failure yourself. Bounce back, because it ain't over. You still breathing, it ain't over. And when you talk about reflection, it don't have to be within the same playing field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything you dealing with in life, think back to the worst thing you could think of that you had to get through in your life, and then think about where you at right now with what you're dealing with. In a lot of cases, if you're more seasoned like us, we ain't gonna state our age right now. We still dealing with aging right now, but you know, it's a blessing to be here. But well, we've been here for a little bit. We ain't super old, but we getting there. But if you start thinking, as you continue to progress and grow through things, think back to the worst thing you ever had to deal with. The older you get, you realize that I done been through worse.
It's minuscule thing in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. It's like work. All work is easy work. This Money Mayweather. All work is easy work, you know.
Coach, when you said that don't self-sabotage yourself, man, you hit me with a ton of bricks. I've literally been saying it in my head this whole time. Like I've always, you know how they say you should always be your biggest fan and your worst critic?
Yeah.
I was never my biggest fan.
You was
but
only one way.
Always my worst critic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was that same thing that we talked about last pod was, is there such thing as too cocky or too humble?
Mm-hmm.
I never did. Like I've always reflected and I always look back. Like every time I always started getting compliments about something, I always fell into that comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? Like I always would get into a place where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. I start smelling myself a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I told my wife that. She was like, well, you need to learn how to celebrate yourself when you do good things. I was just like, yeah, but like mentally for me, it's always been like, to me, that's telling my brain like, all right, you're good now.
Right.
And then it's like, I don't operate like that. It's just like, it's like more and more, it's like, okay, now what? Okay, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, champagne pop. All right, next year's coming around right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that same type of mentality. And sometimes I kind of wonder, like, is it necessarily healthy or unhealthy to be my biggest critic? Like, is it detrimental in the long run? Because I feel like it's always sort of worked for me, but I also don't want to just be my biggest fan and now I become comfortable and I become, all my glory put to myself and I've never been that guy. I never liked the spotlight. I'm never, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a big cheerleader.
I would say I think it works with balance. You got to have both. They work together. There is no you don't have Jedis without having a dark side. Be no need for them. Yeah, I would definitely say you need both. The music y'all hear, I'm also in Genius Music. Just follow all my aliases. But
we'll make sure to throw it in the show notes.
But I recently made a post. I was just feeling myself with some stuff I was cooking up, I was producing over the weekend. And I shared a story and I was just feeling myself. And I just put in quotations. I said new name. I said something along the lines that my shit is dope. If you don't agree, then you don't matter. Something along them lines. I was feeling myself, but I ain't feel bad about it though. Because at the same time, I know how much time I put into that. I know how long I've been doing what I do. I know, it's warring me additional income here and there, and it's something I casually do, and I enjoy doing it. And yeah, so I ain't feel bad about that. I'm gonna take that W.
As you should.
Hell yeah, because that beats soul, by the way. But yeah, you need both of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be my toughest critic too, because I told Steve this. We was talking when we actually presented the topic of being too humble, or the question of being too humble. I talked to Steve about this, and Steve was like, Coach Steve was like, well, I could think of an area you're not humble in. And he said music. And I said, what? But then I thought about like how I come off, and I'm like, boy, you don't know how much stuff I sit on and don't put out because I'm being my biggest critic. How much stuff I do put out and it got a big ass question mark on it before I actually submit to the world, or send an email over to whatever artist. Like,
but I think that goes back to, obviously I've known you for quite some time. I know where I can pick out those times where I know, like, yeah, my man ain't being humble right now. This he didn't win in his bag, and he's like, yeah, this is what it is, bro. So it's been them times. But I'm just saying, like, I think it's important to know where your confidence level needs to be and where your humbleness needs to be, right? And not let your confidence totally outweigh your humbleness. I think if you're able to keep them in the same realm, you definitely where you need to be. Because I can tell you somebody right now, and I mean, just meeting Coach Luna, the past couple weeks, I could tell that you are a very humble individual, sir. Coach Ryan, though, that guy is a humble.
His picture, there's no words in the dictionary. It's just his picture. You see humble. You see Coach Ryan.
Now, but here's the thing, though, and a lot of things that maybe some people don't know about Coach Ryan is, yes, he is extremely humble. But when I tell you this guy walks with a confidence, a swag that like is unheard of, like I can't. You wear it like a suit, bro. You wear it like a suit. The way you carry yourself and how humble you are in a lot of situations, even when you don't need to be humble. Like, I've watched you play basketball, and I've seen some times so I was like, man, he just yammed on this dude. I would not be humble about this now.
But acting like Kawhi out here,
and it's just another day. It's just another day in the gym, right? Just another day in the gym. I've seen this man on the baseball field, and again, I don't know why you ain't hit the pros. But again, the humbleness is just there. Seeing this, I've had the pleasure of working with you. Same thing with Coach Lloyd. I've had the pleasure of working with him. He wasn't really humble.
When you talking about?
Oh, when we worked at Menards, bro, you were not humble at all.
No, do my
shit.
It
was early stages, bro.
Put my fucking time. Yeah. Yeah, I grew.
You put your time in, bro. You put your time in.
Yeah, I grew up around that.
You were able to get your cup of Kool-Aid like me and Coach Luna was talking.
I'm glad you brought that up, but that brings me to another point. I can see how somebody doesn't come off humble when you put in the time.
Right.
The time and the hours, like it meant something different for me when, college football became an option. You know what I'm saying? It meant something different for me when I was I was winning conference and different jumping events in high school at the varsity level and track. Like that meant something different to me. In my mind, I'm like, I'm out here on a leg and a half and I just beat you. Like, you have no idea the hours, the pain, the blood, literally sweat, tears that it took to get here. It meant something different for me than it meant to anybody else. So it definitely, with certain things, I understand. I remember like Richard Sherman, the whole blow up after the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl, but it was Super Bowl, right? When he got in Tom Brady's face. You mad, bro? Like, what they didn't show, what they showed after the fact, and Richard Sherman talked about this in an interview later, like, y'all don't see Tom off camera. He know when the camera on him. Brady was talking crap to that whole defense during halftime. He was talking mad trash when they was up. Mad trash. They didn't show that. They didn't show none of that. Nobody else saw that in the world. And everybody hopped down on Richard Sherman. He don't have class, and that's not sportsmanlike. And Richard Sherman, one of my favorite corners, for the simple fact is he ain't got the speed of no damn NFL corner. but he know where to be, being in a position to win. He been doing that, and that's why he got to where he got. You know, 4.6 40 for a cornerback in the NFL is crazy.
That's pretty slow, bro.
Slow motion, dog.
Call him toast.
But he took care of business, and he made a big play.
True enough.
In that game. So when he was talking trash and everybody else, I remember having conversations with people that actually, you know, felt like he didn't have class. I'm like, man, forget everything y'all talking about. I feel him. You don't know what the background looked like.
Absolutely. Just to touch on what Coach Luna was saying about the critic being the biggest critic, I feel like at some points in my life, I was my biggest critic. I still criticize myself, but I no longer say I'm my biggest critic, because that could put me in a place of consistent and constant regression, you know? So I'm like, I can criticize myself without it being a detriment, or without it keeping me stuck or keeping me in this mental place of I'm not good enough. Because then when there's those moments of celebration, I need to balance myself out and appreciate what I've done without putting it to a place where I'm exalting myself. Because I walked around with a lack of self-confidence for years, until I learned how to appreciate the work that I could do, but then also not be somebody I didn't want to encounter. You know, there are certain people who are like amazing at what they do, but you don't want to deal with them because of that pride, or because of that, you know, they're not that humble. So it's like, I wanted to be a person that people didn't mind encountering, no matter what a talent or ability that was there. So
before we wrap up, I got to ask the question. What can we do as coaches, as mentors, as leaders? What can we do to help instill how important those small wins are to the people that we get a chance to pour into on a daily basis? I'll throw this over to Coach Luna first.
Man, I do it all the time with a lot of my homeboys. I even do it with my wife. I try to do it all the time, man. You know, I'm not gonna bring his name into it, but I had a homeboy like back in like 2019, I want to say somewhere around there. It was like 2018 or so. He was in a bad space. Didn't have anywhere to live, like real bad space. I was like, man, you come live with me. And for a minute there, he couldn't find a job and nothing like that. And you know what I'm saying? Eventually he ended up getting a job. Boom. Didn't have a will. Eventually got a will. Boom. And he would see how I was living and seeing, like, you know, exactly where I was in my life. And he got to, I don't think he admitted it, but I know I could sense it, that he was sometimes like, damn, like I'm not where I should be. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, one day we sitting at Waffle House 2 a.m, chopping it up for like 45 minutes in the parking lot. And I just told him, I was like, man, bro, just realize how far you've come, bro. Think about that moment when you called me and say, bro, you have nowhere to go. And look at where you are now. Fast forward, bro, like now he's got a stable job. He got a house. He got an apartment he's living in, stable. Like everything is a lot more stable. A foundation has been set, and he's building upon it every single day. And it's things like that where, like, in life, with your friends, with your family, we all have a certain ability and a gift to where we can see when someone is, like Coach said, kind of being detrimental to themselves or lacking self-confidence, because you wear it. You know, especially as men, we can't fake the funk for too long, because something in your, whether it's going to be in your volume or it's going to be in your show, it's going to be however you carry yourself, we're going to see it. And that ability to go ahead and pull you to the side and be like, hey, man, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to have, God gave us that gift to be able to see those things and be able to coach those things up. So that constant, like, we gonna end up being the annoying friends sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because we're poking the bear, and we're saying, hey, hibernation don't exist. We ain't those type of bears. You know what I'm saying? Then we don't hibernate. We got to keep going. So it's just that see where they are and say, hey, bro, or hey, sis, or whoever it is, we here. Now let's go. Let's move forward. Because I expect the same thing in return. Tell me if I'm not where I need to be. Because I can't be the person always giving it out Because I need somebody to self-reflect and tell me, hey,
Man.
on this shit out, you need to go ahead and you need to do it too.
Receive, absolutely. Yeah, man. I worked with the men's group for a while last year, and we would literally have hype sessions. So, piggybacking on what Coach Luna was saying, like somebody's down. If it was the 20 guys in this group, 19 of us would focus all our energy on that one guy and just hype them up, tell them all the positive things we appreciate about them, where we see their progress, how we seen them change over the days, weeks, months, and years. So it's literally taking that energy and pouring it into that person. Like Coach Luna was saying, just like, look how far you, like, be that recap for them, be that reflection point for them. Look where you come from. Look what you're doing. Look where you were a year ago, a month ago, stuff like that. So just being that vision board for that person to see, like, hey, let's reflect, because I can see it better than you can.
Right. Coach Lloyd, how can we do this? How can we get our people that we mentor, that we coach, how can we get them to a point to see those small wins?
Well, I'm third, so I got to piggyback. But I kind of say some of the same things you already said. Celebrate them. Because a lot of times we as men in general, we don't get celebrated. We've been taught to be in competition with each other.
Man,
that is the biggest battle, is deprogramming, getting out of the matrix and setting a new trend and a new system. Celebrate them, let them know that you're always there for them, and say, hey, it's okay for you to acknowledge your own wins. Don't worry about how you come off. You know what I'm saying? As long as you continue to progress and see where you came from. As long as you can see where you came from and you still have vision, which you talk about, Luna, you got to have some purpose. You got to have some direction. You got to know where you're going. As long as you understand that there's no place to actually get to, that's the key to it too. I'm going to celebrate you, but you don't have an end. You don't.
Right.
Keep building. The journey is the destination.
Man. So you didn't leave me much. None of you coaches left me
Nothing
much.
left on the bone, dog.
Nothing left on the bone. So I got to get to the marrow. I got to get all the way to the marrow on this one. I think it's super, super important. We can talk about every single piece of this and we can dissect it 10 times over. But I think the big key to this goes back to a previous pod that we already had. And that is literally building confidence. If you don't have the confidence in yourself to acknowledge the small wins, if you don't have the confidence in yourself to see your own progression, if you don't have the confidence in yourself to put the work in that's needed to get to that next goal that you want to get to, you're not going to get very far. None of these quote unquote wins that you're having are going to mean anything to you at the end of the day. It's almost like the kid that goes, again, are we all 80s babies here? I was trying to help you out, Coach.
I'm right at the border, though. I'm right at the border.
Close.
You're knocking on the door, 80s. So we 70s, 80s babies here.
Nah,
and we've all
the energy though.
Right, exactly. You got the 80s energy, right? But we've all been been kids, and our parents are giving us money to go to the store and they give you the change and tell you to keep the change. You got like 4 pennies and a quarter. What did you do with the 4 pennies? Chuck them. And those don't mean anything, right? Again, those small things that you just think are irrelevant. Getting up and, like Coach Luna said, getting up in the morning, open your eyes up in the morning. You got another day, you got a whole nother day now. You got a chance to take a breath. You got a chance to get out the bed. Like, celebrate those small wins, even when you feel like, I don't have much. I don't have anything. You have a life. That's a start. Let's start there. I think that's where it's super key to get, to kind of, I guess, end on at that point. You have a life, you have an opportunity, you have a day to take, to take it to the next level, to do something different, to be better than you were the day before. That's super important. So again, if you like what you heard on the Coach Life Podcast Radio, please like and subscribe. This was an awesome one, fellas. definitely love having these kind of conversations, because when we talk about small wins and doing this pod, this is one for me that that I take very, very close to heart, because this is an opportunity for me to have that church session right now. This is an opportunity for me to have that, to build on the small wins, right? Just like Coach Ryan said a couple years ago, you probably would never heard me on a podcast. Now look at us now, right? Like moving ahead, doing those little small things, building that confidence. So if we're able to, get it poured into us, we want to be able to pour that into you guys. So again, we definitely appreciate everyone's likes and subscribes.
Yes, sir.
Nobody answered last week, or not last week. Nobody answered for our last pod who was their favorite coach and who helped pour it into them. So you know what I'm gonna do? Because I'm such a nice guy. I'm going to extend this. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to give everybody out there, in the sound of our voice here, we'll give everybody another opportunity to get another 10% off at the Coach Life Podcast store. Go ahead, hit that button. Go ahead, get you a t-shirt or a polo or something else that Coach Lloyd, didn't put up there, because he's hogging it for himself. Go ahead and click on that.
What you talking about?
I don't know. No, that's up there. That's up there. That one's up there. That one's up there. So yes, absolutely. Go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Like I said, if you want to hear more from your Coach Life team, as always, everyone, stay positive, my friends.